People will find it surprising, to put it mildly, that the immediate family of the UK Chancellor is not paying UK tax on a large part of their income. I mean, people, non-dom status is legal, but I think we should be clear that non-dom status is used to, it's not used to pay more tax, is it? It's used to pay less tax than you otherwise would. And you've got to say that you are permanently resident, not in the UK. That is part of your resident non-domicile. That is the way it works. So
she's caught between a rock and a hard place as far as India is concerned, because they won't let her say that her residency is here.
I don't. Well, that is not my.
For 15 years.
That's very interesting if that's the case. I'm rather surprised about that, because there are lots and lots of people, Kay, who are citizens of other countries, not UK citizens, but who pay taxes here. You don't have to be a non-dom. You don't have to be a non-dom. You're not forced to be it. You choose to do it. In fact, you pay a little bit of money up front, or quite a lot of money actually up front. Yeah, quite a lot of money up front to get to be non-dom status, and it's to save you money, you know, in your overall tax bill. Look, I think there are legitimate questions that need to be asked of Rishi Sunak about this.
In addition, we've also learned today that a business that she was involved with here in the UK received hundreds of thousands of pounds as part of the furlough scheme. It subsequently went under, so that is costing British taxpayers money.
I don't know. Look, I just don't know that. I don't want to comment on that necessarily, because I don't know the details of that. You know that money could well have been legitimately claimed. I don't want to sort of.
But you can accept that what the Chancellor is doing is completely above board on behalf of him and indeed his wife.
I think it's legal, but is it right? Look, that's the question your viewers will be asking. They're facing a massive cost of living crisis. Rishi Sunak is the man who is charged with ensuring everyone pays their fair share of taxes, and people will be asking, is Rishi Sunak's immediate family paying their fair share of taxes when they're not paying UK tax on such a substantial part of their income?
A lot of my viewers this morning are concerned about how to be paying their energy bills. 500,000 children have been forced into absolute poverty as a result of the taxes and the cost of living increases that we've seen over the last few weeks or so. Clean energy might be the way forward. When I put that to Kwasi Kwarteng, he was saying that we won't see any impact on our bills for 3 to 4 years.
Well, I'm afraid with the government's plan, you won't see any impact for a decade. Because, look, I'm actually in favour of new nuclear, but that's at least a decade away, Kay. The real flaw at the heart of this so-called plan that they're publishing today is they have rejected the cheapest, cleanest, most secure form of power, which is onshore wind. And they've done it not because of the national interest, but because some Tory backbenchers said, up with this we shall not put. We're not willing to relax the ban that was put in place by David Cameron in 2015 on onshore wind. And your viewers are paying significantly more on their energy bills as a result of this, and they will carry on paying more on their energy bills because of that decision. And it's not just onshore wind, it's solar, it's energy efficiency. Nuclear, all very well. They should be getting on now with onshore wind, solar, and crucially, insulating homes, which could make a real difference to your viewers now.
OK, so the Conservative co-chair will say, hold your horses, because what happened back when you were the Energy Secretary is that you didn't invest the money that needed to be invested in our energy infrastructure. This is what he said.
Our reliance today on Russian oil and gas was a course set by Labour governments. They were the ones who neglected to invest in new nuclear power. You know Ed Miliband? Remember him? He spent 10 years blocking it
10 years?
When we could now be relying on it.
I mean, they'll make up any old cobblers, won't they? I mean, look, let's be honest. Look, what happened was that in 2006, Tony Blair opened the door again to nuclear. It was controversial. I took it forward as Energy Secretary. I left a plan for 10 sites for new nuclear. We've had 12 years of the government not doing it. But look, all of that's ancient history. They should be getting on now with new nuclear, but they should be getting on now, Kay, with onshore wind, solar and insulating homes. That's what could make a difference to your viewers.
But it's your fault that we're relying more on Russian oil and gas than we need to.
That's absolute nonsense, because I started the drive to renewables, to offshore wind and all of those things.
Do you acknowledge, though, that, you know, some people don't want to live next to wind turbines?
I do acknowledge that, but here's the interesting thing. significant majorities across the country support onshore wind, and you're more likely to support onshore wind if you live near a wind turbine than if you don't live near one. I was at a wind farm yesterday, and the guy there was saying, we have really significant public support here. This is a lot of mythology. This is Tory backbenchers who are worried about a few people in their post bag, and they are holding our country's energy policy to ransom.
Would you live near a wind farm?
Yes, of course. And I have wind farms in my constituency. Okay. Of course. And you know, I think the context for it has changed, Kate. You know, we know the energy insecurity we face with the situation in Russia, Ukraine. We know what's happening to people's bills. I think, you know, it's long past time to be making excuses and to be having this kind of ban. We need all forms of power at our disposal, and the government's rejected that course.
Your party's tying itself in knots about the transgender row at the moment. Should we ban trans conversion therapy?
Yes.
Why can I not get straight answers from a lot of your colleagues?
That was
no, from a lot of your colleagues, because you've answered it very clearly. But a lot of your colleagues seem to be very cautious, including the leader, seem to be very cautious when we talk about transgender.
Look, I think there are strong views on lots of sides here, but I'll give you my perspective on this. I think that trans people face incredible barriers and stigma in our society. I was talking to a trans person the other day about this. I think the way this debate has been conducted, these anatomical debates, I think it is really awful for so many trans people in our country who are, you know, you've got teenagers who are trans, who are self-harming, you know, you've got them facing and I think the British people actually are respectful and tolerant and want equality. And I think we must be able to do that for trans people. And I feel like I've seen some of this movie before, Kate, which is in the 1980s, around the way gay people were stigmatised. You know, I think we've really got to stand up for the rights of trans people. Yes, we've got to hear those women who say that there's a case for single-sex spaces. I understand that. But I do think that we've got to empathise and recognise the pain that so many people, so many trans people face and treat them with the respect they deserve.
What about transgender women taking part in women's sport?
I think that we need fairness. I think that is a decision for the sporting bodies, though.
What do you think?
Well, I think it's different in different sports. I was reading the document that UK Sport produced on this. I mean, you know, they were saying, look, snooker and darts might be different from, you know, swimming or other sports. I think.
No, I understand that. But my question is, should transgender women?
I don't think you should have a blanket ban.
Okay.
I don't think you should have a blanket ban. I think it's for the sporting bodies, and I'm afraid this is the case where, you know, the Prime Minister he blundered in yesterday and said, well, you know, suddenly he comes up with a view. Well, look. You know, I understand that, for example, in the cycling case, I understand the strong feelings there were there. And I think the sporting bodies eventually got to the right decision. But I do think
what about swimming?
Well, you see, that's the thing. I don't think it's for me to say.
But I'm interested in your. Interested in your view.
I think the principle here is that we need fairness in sport, right? We do need fairness. And what this UK sport document says is, look, inclusion is an important principle, but so too is fairness. And I think that is a decision for sporting bodies. They are the people responsible for the rules here. And I think they can enforce and come up with those right rules. And so, you know, going back to your original question about the trans issue in general, I think we're showing there are tricky issues here. But I think I come back to this point, which is, how would you be feeling as a trans person after the kind of debates that have been had in the last few weeks? I think you'd be feeling awful.
But how would you be feeling as a woman swimmer who has been practising their entire life and you've not got any chance at all against a transgender woman in the same sport?
That's why there needs to be fairness. And, you know, I understand that people will feel that. And there does need to be fairness, and the sporting bodies need to take that seriously. But I trust that sporting bodies can take this seriously without the politicians, as I say, blundering in.
Partygate. I ask every Cabinet Secretary about Partygate. They all stonewall me. They all say, we have to wait for the final reports. We've already had 20 fines. So my question is actually what your leader has said. You know, did the Prime Minister preside over multiple rule breaking in Downing Street? The answer is yes. But that was then. We've moved on.
Well, I don't think the public have moved on. I think there's a bit of a Westminster public thing here. I think the public are still pretty angry about it, because I think the public think this has been an absolutely traumatic time. We did the right thing. The vast majority of us did the right thing. And there was one rule for Boris Johnson, another rule for everyone else. So I don't I don't buy that at all. And obviously we're going to have to wait to see what happens in relation to Boris Johnson. But it's clear there was a culture of rule-breaking in Downing Street presided over by Boris Johnson.
Let's end where we started. What would your words of advice be for Rishi Sunak this morning? Because you've been in the eye of a storm a few times.
I think explanation, and then thinking to yourself, not just what is legal, but what is right. He is the UK Chancellor asking people to pay more in taxes. Is it right that his immediate family is sheltering from UK taxes? I think many of your viewers will think it isn't right, and I think Rishi Sunak and his family should reflect on that.
And is his wife a fair target?
I don't like that word. I don't think we should be thinking about spouses in that way. I think there's a very high bar for spouses being part of political debate, but I think the case of tax and the Chancellor and Rishi Sunak's immediate family is a legitimate question.
OK. My team always say to me, he's so relaxed now he's not leader anymore. What's all that about?
What's happened to him?
Yeah,
He's discovered a personality, they say.
Is that true?
Maybe other people have discovered that I have a personality.
Oh, maybe you allow it to come out and you didn't before. It's always great to see you. Thanks for coming in.